Well, hello everyone. It's another Thursday from not so sunny Florida. This is Toni Weel. I have with me Sara from Virtuous Unicorns and our guest Luccas Laquintinie. I'm not so sure if I pronounce it well, but I'm sure he will correct me if I'm wrong. And we have Grant with us. I came across, well, everything always pops up in front of me at a moment that I really need to see it. And this time it was Luccas about his book, a little book on fasting. And when I started reading what was on the back of the book, it's like it's the best intro I could give him, because fasting is healing, and everybody who listens to us already knows about that. But it is the way he wrote it. It's fun, it's interesting, and I came across a few things that I was like, yep, I experienced that, especially the one where he says, as much as the tongue and the brain may enjoy certain textures and flavors, the rest of our organs have a very different opinion. I thought that was so funny because we constantly experience that. But to give him the introduction that he deserves, I would like to read what is actually on the back of his book. Now, all the links for Luccas are at the bottom of the description in the show notes, where you can get his book, his Linktree information, and his Facebook page. And I follow him on Facebook, and he always has very good information. He had a second book just coming out, but today we stick to the little thing about fasting. But I want to read this. The book is a culmination of over 4 years of experimenting with different types of fasting and diets, from intermittent to week-long and eventually 100 days of juice fasting in a row. Rather than preaching an ultimate truth or a one-size-fits-all here, I am simply sharing the heights and experience I've had so far. I write this not only as a means of self-expression, but with the intent to assist others to dispel fears and doubts I used to have myself, and to inspire, encourage, and empower whoever it is in need of being so. It is directed to both the novice and the seasoned faster alike, and covers both the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect and challenges of this process. Fasting and living off less food in general has transformed not only my health, but my whole perspective of the world, the way I live, and how I interact with others. To me, more than a temporary experiment, it became the adoption of a lifestyle of needing less and being more. Look at that is, well, it almost brings tears to my eyes. It is, you are so on point, and it is absolutely amazing. And I suggest everyone listening to us, please get the book. It's available in print and in an ebook, but I love to have a book in my hands. It's easier reading too. So this was my introduction of Luccas. Can you add anything to it? Well, crazy question to ask, actually.
Yeah. Hello, Toni. Thank you. Yeah, I did my best to convey all of what the book is about on that little one. So I'm not sure I would do any good to add to that, but I guess it says it all.
Yeah, well, the back of the book says it all, but now it's like, how did you get to it? What made you feel, with all your experience, that you needed to write a book? Is it because people have a completely the wrong concept about what fasting is? Because we see the information about fasting everywhere. It's like it's a big, well, almost like a big fad. It's everybody talks, oh yeah, I'm going to detox, I'm going to fast, but no one actually does it the right way. And is there a right or a wrong way, in your opinion?
Well, the first one to begin with, what inspired me to share or to write this book was probably around 2020, when I was in the middle of that 100 days of juice fast, and we were in this little weird social situation worldwide, and I was just casually sharing, what I was drinking on that day, what I was experiencing, what I was detoxing. And I noticed that a lot of people were interested, a lot of people were asking questions. And I think some of the seeds were already being planted around the time. I was thinking, I was writing a lot of notes about it, but it was only a few months later, at the end of 2020, that I was just thinking that I kind of wanted to organize this information and express it in a more coherent way instead of just having all of those scattered posts and random conversations, because at least in my mind, I started to have to structure all of this information and experiences I went through. And I just kind of wanted to breathe life into it, I guess, and make it more accessible to others, because I had noticed that at least a few dozen people at the time were interested in what I had to share. So it kind of felt appropriate to go on and write the book. On whether there's a right or a wrong way to fast, I think that's going to be a very personal way of approaching it. And that's also why when I wrote the book, I was thinking of not just writing a how-to book, but more so an account of my own experiences and perspectives that would empower the reader to sort of find their own way and figure out the best way of going about it for themselves, because we have people at different stages of life with different levels of obligations or freedom. We have people that are so toxic that they can barely handle fruit juices. They'll start detoxing too fast. They might be doing better with some raw foods, even some vegetable juices first. We have people with all sorts of different conditions. So I think the best way to fast is always going to be a little different to each of us, although there are always some general guidelines, I suppose, that we could keep in mind. And should I keep going, or would you like to ask?
You can keep going as much as you like.
All right. Well, I guess the first thing that I would say is that it depends on how much time you have on your hands, because we have some people that are working their jobs, taking care of the family and so on. Not everyone can take a vacation, so to speak. And usually starting small and gradually building up would be a good and solid strategy. Some people may find themselves in situations where either they can afford to, or they have no choice but to just really delve into it. But generally speaking, I think it's more sustainable if we go about it in a gradual manner. Say we could start experimenting with intermittent fasting. If we have not done so already, we can start doing a 1-day fast here and there, and then just gradually build up, instead of just buying a juicer and say, hey, I'm gonna do a week and go and do it. Because one of the things that I have found is that well, both starting the fast and continuing it can be rather challenging, but one of the biggest pitfalls that I have noticed is breaking the fast, because once we actually start eating again, it's very easy to be tempted to eat the, let us say, improper foods choices and combinations that we used to before. And if we do that right after breaking a fast, we're kind of, taking one step forward and 2 steps backwards. So that's why I think this slow but gradual and consistent approach would be best. I think Arnold Ehret talks about something along these lines on his book, The Mucusless Diet Healing System. This idea of you do shorter fasts, like, I don't know, say 1 to 3 days plus maybe intermittent on a regular basis. And then in between, you would start making more conscious and optimal choices. That too, not everyone is either ready or willing to commit to, say, a 100% raw foods diet, but we can always make a little bit of improvement, right? We can always select a fruit group and eliminate it for a while, see if we feel better with or without it. We could pick the most obvious culprits for most of our problems, like processed foods. Generally speaking, we will obviously we will always want to favor what is organic, fresh, in season, what grows locally. And little by little, we start getting accustomed to going 1 day or more without chewing or eating anything solid. And in the meantime, we start making these better choices, or at least eliminating a few of the things that are causing us most of our problems. So if we sort of go about it in this way, we could always explore this process at our own pace. And I think that's the best way of going about it, really, because different people have different goals and objectives. Some people are just, hey, I'm gonna do 100 days. I'm gonna do 200 days juice fasting, whatever it takes to cleanse myself and see changes in my eyes. Some people are just, I don't even know if I want to commit to raw foods. I just want to be a little healthier. So depending on what you want to get out of it, what you're expecting, what you're shooting towards, you will approach it in different ways. And so I wrote the book not really giving a formula on how to do it, but hopefully given enough information and insights from my own experience that people could feel empowered to make their own choices on how to go about it.
Now, when you talk about fasting, are you talking about a water fast or using fruit juices?
Right. Well, if we are to be real about it, a real fast would be like dry fasting, right? Water fasting, and juice fasting is kind of like a juice diet, right? But most of us are so toxic, and our bodies are in such a degenerate state that even drinking juices just provides like a major cleansing and healing and detoxification process. So most of the time I was referring to juices, but you could apply it to water to some extent. But I feel there are like an order of magnitude almost separating, say, a dry fast from a water fast, and a water fast from a juice fast, and a juice fast from just eating raw foods. It's like you go to a lighter density, so to speak. And in the case of fruit juices, it's in a way not that difficult if you're drinking enough, because you're getting all of those calories, sugars, minerals, enzymes. There's a whole array of substances that will be assisting you in releasing mucus and healing yourself and even nourishing yourself. When you do a water or a dry fast, you generally want to really take some time off, right? Perhaps if you can not work during that time, really listen to your body. You might need to rest more, to sleep more. So generally speaking, for the average person, considering their current state of health, I would say that starting with juice fasting would be easier, especially going longer distances, while exploring water and dry, you could do it after you become more familiar with the juices, or just keep it more 1 to 3 days at most, I guess.
Yeah, I've done a water fast one time. 35 days. Recently, I did 23 days, and I found it very, very easy. Easier actually than fruit, because with fruit, it's still, okay, what am I gonna use? Is it watermelon? Is it apple? Is it grapes? Which one? Or maybe I should eat a banana. And then there goes your juice fast or feast. So with the water, I found it personally very easy. But yes, I would always recommend to my clients, start slow. But what my concern actually is that so many times you see these people that are going on a 30-day fast. Sometimes water, actually often water, sometimes juice, but they come from a standard, we cannot even call it an American diet anymore, it's a worldwide diet. And they jump in the juice fast and they get very sick. They get all these detox symptoms. So yes, absolutely. We always talk about start slow. And of course, nobody wants to get back. Well, that's wrong what I'm saying. Nobody wants to get back to what they ate before, because yes, they do. Because that is the question that I mostly get is like, okay, what can I eat after the fast? Can I eat my pizzas and pastas and bread and etc. again? And it's like, well, if that is your goal, then why even do the juice fast? Because you get back right where you started, with the same problems. So it's not something that I would ever recommend. And I think most of us here have experience with fasting. Dry fasting, I found it very difficult. I only did it, and that was when I had a food poisoning, actually. So that is when I mentioned the 24-hour dry fast. It's like, okay, I don't need anything now, and just stay away from food. And then slowly started again with water, and then a little fruit. Now, there is always concern, and that is one of the many questions that we get about it is that, oh, but how do I get my calories? And why am I losing so much weight? What is your response to that?
Well, first, I think the concept of calories is like maybe 2 centuries old or something. I don't think it's the most accurate way of describing what we need, because like you can't compare 500 calories of rice or cake with 500 calories of apples, right? Any sensible person that experimented themselves will see that they feel much more energized and nourishing in the fruits, for example, in this case. So I think it would be helpful to look beyond calories, and we really need to, as a species, redefine how we classify food in this sense and nourishment, because we have all of the minerals, the enzymes, and all sorts of different parts of the food that are not necessarily taken into consideration when we're just speaking of calories. So saying that someone needs 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever number of calories is very subjective. And also alluding to what you said first about the water fasting, one thing that I noticed is that the cleaner we get, the easier it is to fast, unless, for instance, when I started juice fasting, I was like drinking 4 or 5 liters of juice a day. I think once I even drink 6, that's a lot. But nowadays, I'm totally satisfied with 2. For instance, sometimes I may drink 3, sometimes I may drink just 1, and I'm perfectly fine just dry fasting 16, maybe 18 hours of the day. It just becomes easy at some point. So it is a good perimeter to notice that the more uncomfortable we feel when you start a fast, it's usually an indication of how toxic you still are, how much you're still having to detox. And so that's why sometimes it's a good way it's good to slow things down. But I also agree that there's a certain simplicity to water fasting, right? And after a few days, you just kind of like don't feel hungry or anything anymore. So it's also helpful to not have to be thinking, what am I going to get? What am I going to do? No, it's just water. So it makes it very simple in a way.
Yeah, I thought it was very simple. I even stayed on the water fast while I went on vacation for a few days. And it was like, okay, we don't stop at the restaurant. We're not going anywhere. And I was actually amazed how easy it was. And I always find that the second day, the hunger is already gone. And the hunger that we have on cooked food is crazy. It's like you always want more. And in your book, there was actually a part about how you feel when you eat cooked food compared to when you eat fruit, and about the energy. And it's absolutely true. Every time I go away from my fruit and I eat a cooked meal, which is actually considered a healthy cooked meal because it can be a veggie soup, but nevertheless it's cooked. I'm tired, I'm bloated, I get grumpy, and tired. I have no energy. And it's like, I'm not feeling right. My stomach doesn't feel right. So it's amazing. And you feel that more once you have been on the all raw and mostly fruit.
Yes, I agree. It's like the healthier we become, the more sensitive we become to these things as well. So one of the reasons why most people do not understand they think they feel fine is because they have been so numb to what they're doing that they never had a clear perspective, right, or a clear tongue, so to speak. One of the things when you're going out of a fast is like your tongue is very sensitive, right? You can really taste things. So once you put something that does not really agree with your body, or even if you've just been raw for a long time already, you feel it right away how bad it feels, essentially. And I think I had forgotten to reply to something you asked before.
I don't know.
Okay.
I was
Just keep flowing.
sidetracked. There's somebody keeps calling me, and it's like my phone keeps ringing, and I cannot turn off my phone right now. But anyway, it's if anyone has questions for us, absolutely, put them in the chat, or we have Sara in Grant, so give us your input too. If you have questions for Luccas, now is the time.
Yeah, I've been waiting to kind of chime in, just trying to find my point to jump in. But so I do have a question for you. When you are on your fast, are you finding that different juices, like the fruits, do you feel that you need less on certain? And what I'm saying is, when I'm on like an orange juice fast, or I'm just drinking my orange juice, I am very full from the orange juice. But if I'm doing other fruits, I feel that I need more. Have you experienced that at all?
Just a little, because usually for the sake of simplicity, I only do like one juice a day, one type of fruit. And usually I end up going like a few days even on just that type of fruit, just for practicity. Maybe at some point I get a little tired of it. I always go about it in a more intuitive manner. Like I go to the market or to a place nearby and I see what am I feeling like today. But I agree, and I think that's also one of the reasons why people eat so much. It's like when we have a mono meal of just one type of fruit, for example, it's at least I feel like I get satisfied too at some point. But once we start combining all sorts of different flavors and we have like 3, 4, 5, 6 different things at once, I don't know, there's a different reaction to it. I think it's stimulating also at some point, and it makes it easier to want to have more. So I guess it could be something along these lines. When you have that variety, it makes it easier to like
overindulge.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, usually my favorite is orange juice, but I've been doing a grape fast with my mom and my husband, and we've alternated between grapes and grape juice. But I'm just finding that when I'm on grape juice, I don't find it as filling as I do the orange juice. So I'm not sure if that was anything either, but when we do these kinds of things, we do mono juice also. We're not combining throughout the day. But yeah.
Well, just one minor detail that just came to mind. I'm not sure of the quality of the thing. I don't know maybe how fresh it is, or if it's seasonal or not, or it could be something specific to your body too, right? Maybe there's just something in the oranges that you were needing that there isn't as much of in the grapes.
That's
just
yeah.
Something to consider.
I think, Sarah, what happening is with me is that I get very full on grape juice. So
you do, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it's just different for everyone, but it's it is true that when you are on the juices, you feel that you don't need as much as when you eat any cooked food. Cooked foods always seems to want more. It's like you had that one cup of soup, and then it's like, well, I can eat another one, and then you feel even more miserable. But there is that need. With fruit, everything works so much easier. And one important thing that we already touched on a little was the sustainability of what we're doing, that this is a lifelong change. It is not you do it for an a 30-day or longer fast and you go back to what you were doing before, then you might as well not doing it. It's not doing your body, or it's not really doing your body any good, not much anyway. But it's once you start with it and you feel amazing. And yeah, I talk to a lot of people that say that, yeah, I got back to the cooked food for a year and I'm so miserable and all my symptoms are back and I need to get back on fruit because I felt so great. And I wonder, what is it that people keep going back to the cooked food part? Is it that are we so brainwashed or inundated with restaurants and food and recipes and God knows where you all find it? It's everywhere around you, and that it's so hard to not be tempted. What would be your solution for that, Luccas?
Well, first of all, I would say that it almost feels like a drug to me, the cooked feed, and more in particular, and I know many people do not like hearing about that, but the sodium chloride, what we refer to as table salt, it's not very natural to be like sprinkling powdered rock on what we eat. And what I found out is that there are many of the things that people usually eat, say cooked foods, that they just do not taste good without the salt or the seasonings. So that already says a lot, right? If you remove the salt, what could you still eat and enjoy out of your cooked food options? Usually the list gets much smaller. So I think that's part of why I think of it as an addiction. And also we have been doing it since we were babies, literally, and for who knows how many generations. So I really think part of it is kind of just this habit that we have been ingrained in ourselves. And to some degree, I really approach it like an addiction, like you would any other addiction. So it's not necessarily going to be easy, and it's not necessarily going to be fast, pun not intended. But I think the consistency is very important, which is also why I mentioned before the gradual approach, and just gradually removing things and just doing this perhaps shorter fast to recalibrate your system. Because what I found is that the only way that seems to work is when you experience for yourself, once you've been on raw foods for a while, or you do a juice fast, say of at least a week, and you feel the difference afterwards, because yes, you're still craving those foods, you still kind of want to taste them, but you see for yourself how miserable you feel. So it really becomes a matter of deciding what do you want to do with your life, right? Do you want to live to eat, or do you want to eat to live? And I forget who said another quote, but it's something along the lines of our needs are always have a limit, but our indulgences and our vices do not, regardless of which one of them we're talking about. We could say the 7 sins for a reference, you know, whether it's gluttony or lust or anything. It's just like a bottomless pit that we could just keep indulging, and it triggers something in our brain. I think this whole dopamine thing and everything, that there's no end to it, you know. It's not like a need that once you satisfied it, then you're full, you're good. Once you're not satisfying needs, you're just indulging. It's like you could keep going until you get tired of it. And I think they have even done experiments with mice, right, where they have this little button and they get a shock or something on their brain, and they feel that rush of pleasure, and they would literally kill themselves doing that. And I think to some degree our brains work in a similar way. So once we start thinking about foods and the salt as more of an addiction situation, then I think it brings a lot of clarity to the table, both about where we currently stand in relation to it, and the best way to approach it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that is, it's interesting that you mentioned the salt, because that was a topic that we had, what is it, about a week ago. And I had a long podcast about how toxic salt is and how addicted we are to it. And crazy enough, I heard about the green salt, and I was like, okay, let's try that. And then I was thinking, why am I doing this? Because when I'm on all fruit, I have no need for salt. I mean, on what am I going to put salt on my fruit? Nothing. You know, you can eat it as is. And I have to come to the conclusion that any food that requires salt for us to be tasty is not meant for us.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Mm-hmm. And I do agree with the whole addiction part, because the times that I've actually had pasta or breads or things like that, even after being on fruit, to me, it's only the first couple bites that are actually good in the first place. By the time you get to the third bite, you're like, this doesn't even taste like anything really. So I don't even know if it's mainly like your brain hyping you up to say that bread's going to be amazing, it's going to smell good. But there's all the different things to it, like the crunch, the texture, the texture and things like that too. Like, do we just build that up in our brain? And then when you finally have it, it's like euphoria. And then all of a sudden it's not anymore. And then you don't feel good. And then all this other stuff starts happening, and where your stomach starts hurting and things like that. So I definitely agree that it is an addiction. I can only imagine that somebody who's been smoking and then quit smoking, if they ever started smoking again, what that would feel like to them too. But I 100% think it's addiction for us.
Grant, would you like to add something?
Oh, just I maybe I missed it, but I was just wondering how long Luccas has been following this lifestyle, and basically what is his normal daily routine of what he intakes and stuff like that. Just trying to get to know where he's coming from.
All right. I started becoming more aware of what I eat back in 2014. I stopped eating animals at the end of 2015. And it was around the end of 2016 that I became aware of raw foods. From there, in 2017, I was already experimenting with intermittent fasting, basically 2 meals a day, basically raw until 4 or 50% raw, 50% cooked. But it still took me a long time to like commit to 100% raw. I would do maybe a few months or weeks of it with some fasting. Then I would go back to cooked. I'm sure many people can relate to that. So as far as being 100% raw, right now, I think I'm only on a streak of a few months. But of being mostly raw, it has already been it's difficult to say. For the past 3 years or so, I've been only eating 1 meal a day. So I'm fasting like 20-ish hours, mostly just water on that period. So my normal day, I only have like a 2 hours eating window. And every now and then, I would still be eating cooked foods past year and the year before. But mostly raw, and I'm not that fond of salads either. I do say that I enjoy having some almond milk every now and then, but for the most of the time, I'm just having a mono meal of fruit, and that is kind of enough for me. So does that answer the question, or?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, you've been at it a long time, and you actually surpass where I'm trying to get to. I'm not that perfect yet, I still, Toni was talking about the cooked meals and stuff. Sometimes I still enjoy a little pasta or something like that, or seafood. I'll be honest with you. I still eat a little bit of shrimp or something like that, but everything I do that's like that, I try to prepare it the simplest way that possible with the least ingredients and just keep it simple. But mostly my day is I eat a lot of cucumbers and tomatoes and then bananas and oranges if they have them, when they have them, mango, stuff like that. I always have my vegetables or fruit in that, but I like cooked greens and that, kind of steamed greens and stuff like that. I just find it at this point right now, I'm really struggling with what can sustain me, because I've got to a point where, over the last 2 years, I gave up a lot of the things around the end of 2020 and into 2021, one by one. It was the meat and the dairy and the eggs and stuff like that. But I still find myself drawn, and I've come to the point right now where I can't afford to lose any more weight. And I'm having to eat double the amount just to sustain at 125, my high school weight, which is freaking 30, almost 35 years ago. I only joked about it. I bet my daughter, my oldest, I said, what if I can get to 130 pounds again? That's what I was basically. I said, what would you think? And I gave a bunch of things to her, what if I can do this? What if I can do that? And I was at 205 at the point, and I'm not a tall man. And I see my pictures now. I look at my old pictures and I'm like, God damn, I don't even know who that is. I don't even recognize that guy at 205. And now it's like, I'm just trying to stabilize a little bit to where I can at least keep that weight, man. It's like, ooh, it's like when you lose 80 pounds in a couple of years, it's a freaky feeling. Some days I look at myself and I look good, I look slim and trim. And then there's other days and it's like, the skin, the loose skin, the kind of saggy kind of stuff and things like that from a massive weight loss. I've seen it on other people, and they usually leave stretch marks and stuff like that. I don't have that, but it's just the loose skin and that. So I applaud you for being able to do that. I haven't got there yet. It just right now, I'm just trying to find a new balance that I didn't use before, because I used to eat anything, anything, everything. So now we at this point where 90% gave up. There's still that 10%, the old left brain, the old 10% on the left hemisphere. So just trying to balance that out. And if you had any suggestions on what else I can go to, I've been hearing things about the Irish sea moss and things like that, to where you get your vitamins, minerals, and a little bit more, energy wise and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Thank you.
Well, first, I believe it's awesome in and of itself already where you've gotten. And I really think that's one of the most important things, finding that balance. And that balance is not a static thing, right? It's a balance in motion as we go about it. So I think it really helps to look at the proportions of what we're eating too, because the majority of people eat like 90% trash foods and the occasional fruits and salads. You're doing the exact opposite, right? You're eating 90% very clean and healthy, and then there's a little bit that you still play around with. And like, there's not a deadline, right, for reaching our goals. So I think it's still important to enjoy the process. If we're not enjoying the process and just being very focused on it's not good enough yet, it's not good enough yet, it's not good enough yet, then we're not going to be even enjoying our lives, right? And even if we get to that ideal that we set for ourselves, we might not be able to fully appreciate it because we just suffered all the way to get there. So that's why, again, I say that approach it in a slow and gradual, casual yet committed way is seems to be the healthiest approach for me. And I think where we currently are is already completely awesome, really, especially if you compare it to your old self, to the majority of people around us. About the weight, I've also always been more on the thin side, to be honest. It's not something that I've entirely overcome yet. I know there's still plenty of detoxing and healing for me to do as well. I could get into it later, but I just think I was born into a very weak constitution, and like many of us, there were all sorts of drugs and chemicals and stabbing and all sorts of things when I was a child. So I know there's still plenty of cleansing to do. And one of the things that at least a mentality, so to speak, that has helped me is to realize that we're not really losing weight. This is a friend of mine who said this sentence. It's Chris Manley on Facebook. He said that we do not lose waste. We do not lose weight. We are shedding waste. So like, our body is a very, very intelligent machine. It's like the most intelligent machine on earth, and it knows how to take care of itself, right? So I do not believe our body would get rid of anything that was essential. So when we're, so to speak, losing weight as we detox, I believe our body's just getting rid of the trash, like all of the weak, damaged cells. That's what it's being disposed of. And I really think at some point, we just kind of will have to bite the bullet and go the distance, so to speak, maybe. And I really think the water and the dry fasting are the most healing varieties. And I think it's gonna be a process akin to like tearing down the old building and then rebuilding again from the scratch. I'm not entirely sure if we can do both to the depth that we want to do at once, you know, like I'm pretty sure you could still build muscle while juice fasting, but or maybe even water fasting. But at some point, I think we kind of have to allow this process, you know, just see to which point our body will kind of break itself down and then rebuild it from there. You know, I'm not sure if this is really the best way of going about it, but it's the conclusion I've come to myself. You know, I understand where you're coming from, and I often have the same questions myself, or like, okay, how do I find more balance here? Do I really is it really right to like, I don't know, be thinner or whatever? Am I doing this the right way? Am I missing on something? Maybe is there a particular mineral or something that I'm not getting? Maybe I should experiment with some superfoods or with some herbs. But there's another side of me that is also thinking like, man, you're overreacting a little, or you keep trying to find that magical food or that magical something that's gonna give you what you perceive to be lacking. But maybe you just gotta trust your body, right? And whenever you feel ready to really do those days or maybe even weeks of water fasting, explore some dry fasting and see, okay, I'm gonna lose more weight, so to speak, maybe. But what I'm not really losing, right? I'm just shedding waste. And I know, because I have faith in the intelligence of my body, that after I'm finished with the healing and I go back to eating the fruits and the vegetables, my body is gonna rebuild itself even better than before. But I think we really have to allow that period of breaking down to take place at some point and just make our peace with it. At least that's the answer that I found for myself. But I cannot really say that, you know, everyone should do the same. I cannot say that, at least for now. Does that sound helpful or?
Yeah, great, Lucas. I appreciate that. I just wanted to kind of hear you. And I listened to different people on that same subject, just trying to find some maybe a better solution, because right now it's like, God damn, it's hard to find something that's fresh and tastes good, especially fruit. I don't know what the hell's going on since COVID. It's very hard to find an orange that tastes like an orange. That's not just dried up. There's no juice in it. And it looks beautiful on the outside. You know what I'm talking about? All of
Yeah,
that. Mangoes, anything, you know, even the basic bananas, they just spot up and turn brown and start rotting instead of ripening. So it's got me to where I've got so few choices to choose from at this moment. I know it's going to get better. Well, yeah, I do know it will get better. It has to. It can't get any worse, because when you're in the hole, you can only climb up, you know, unless you got a shovel and you dig it deeper. But yeah, you know, it's like, yeah, I was just seeing where you was, what you could possibly give for it. Because yes, I know I listen to my body and I feel good. But when like I said, when I look at the skin and eye, it's kind of that kind of softness and hanging kind of thing. And it's like, maybe that's just me overthinking it, and not. I just, you know, I don't want to get to the point where I become, should I say, ill, you know, or diseased. You know, I don't want to cause myself to detox that hard or something. Not like I'm doing anything that would cause it, but like you said, your body knows more than you know. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing with it, and I'm trying to find, and hopefully spring's coming, stuff will start coming in the season, better produce and stuff like that. And my mother-in-law and father-in-law plant a garden every year, you know, but not right now. It's too cold, you know, it burns everything. So I'll have plenty of fresh, you know, vegetables and stuff like that in the garden. but it's just those, I guess it's those fall and winter times where it's hard to find stuff. So I was just seeing if you had any other suggestions that I might have not heard on maybe what is maybe like a fattener, something that kind of holds you there. It's not the best thing. It's not, it's not the highest, but it's not how would I say it? It's not mucus forming, it's not acidic, stuff like that. I know there's different things, and I haven't played with all of them. I hear about them, but like I said, it's hard to get any of the things right now. So,
okay, the first thing is that I kind of live in the tropics, so I'm kind of blessed in that way. I do not have to deal with such harsh winters. Although I have also noticed a drop in the quality of produce in general, and as far as being in the winter, the two things that come to mind would be first, what you mentioned, the nuts and the seeds, maybe some dry fruit as well, your raisins and dates and all. I think those would remain decent enough, even in winter. You could correct me if I'm wrong. And another thing that I do not know if it's entirely possible or if it's ideal, but perhaps you could do some sprouting. Get them seeds and just make a lot of greens in your own kitchen. I'm not sure if that would work. I don't know what temperatures you're dealing with, but those would be my first ideas as far as surviving a harsh winter, stocking up on the nuts and seeds and the dry fruits and sprouting, or seeing whatever you can grow indoors, maybe use some artificial lighting even. And about the food quality situation, one of the answers that I found for myself is that at some point I'm just gonna have to make peace with the fact that the only sensible solution is for us to start organizing ourselves and build eco villages and reclaim the land and plant it ourselves, our own fruit orchards and vegetable gardens, because that's the only way to really have fresh, good quality organic produce. It's that idea that if you want something done properly, you kind of do it yourself, right? So I think we really have to also transition at some point to a lifestyle that can afford us to do that, like to grow our own food as part of a lifestyle. And I think the real challenge is the in-between, right? How do we balance things out until we get there? And I'm still trying to figure out that myself.
I think what we forget actually is the reason why we keep getting slimmer, skinnier. We have a lot of junk in our GI tract. The colon is full. Even people who are have low weight, they still have 5 to 7 pounds to lose in just junk that needs to come out. And once that happens, then the body can absorb more of the nutrition that you bring in. I know of quite a few people who just kept doing what they were doing, and what you were doing, Grant, same thing, is stay on as much fruit and preferable all raw foods, and let it be until your body really cleans out. Incorporate those water fast days and do it 1 day a week. Maybe do a juice fast 3 days, and then go back on eating the fruit and your raw foods. So you have a little variety. Eat an avocado once in a while. It's high fat. It's not really that detoxing, but your body needs to clean out. And as for loose skin, it has to do with dehydration. And so that is just something that you have to work on. It's and not worry about it. Once you get healthier, you will see that and once you clean out your gut, because that is the main thing, you will see that your skin is start looking so much better. And I'm oh my gosh, am I going to say this? I can almost say I'm in my 70s. My birthday is next month. And although I always say I'm forever 38, but I'm going to turn 71. I don't have loose skin, and I'm still overweight. If I eat cooked food, I gain weight like crazy. But on all fruit, I feel my best. My skin looks good, and it's easy to lose the weight. Now, I've never been skinny, but if I look at my husband, who has never been overweight, who is, I think, 5'10" in height, he probably weighs 125 pounds. And he has always been very slim, probably the same as from what I saw of your pictures, Luccas, the same as you are. And he is 68. He feels great, but it starts with the absorption of the nutrients that you put in your body. If your gut is not clean, then you don't absorb, and you won't gain the weight. So you can, and I see it as unhealthy weight, because like what Chris Manley said, the breatharian, I tried to get him on a podcast too, but he responded once and then haven't heard from him. But it is like, it's not about the weight, it is about the waste. And we still carry waste in us, even the skinny ones. So I think that is, Jay, I'm not even, birthday's on the 16th, so you can do it then. But anyway, it's like, try that. And Grant, I would love to talk about this sometime. You have my number, you know how to find me. So
yeah, I do, Toni. I just know you're so busy, so I don't want to bother nobody when it comes to
offered,
that.
It's an offer. You can take it. So
thank you so much, Toni.
I'm not that busy. Everybody thinks I'm so busy, but there are quite a few hours in a day, and I always take things easy, so don't worry about it. Sara, I would love to hear from you again. What do you have for us?
I'm just taking it all in and just listening. I've not been, I've never been on a fast per se. This is the closest I've become with the grapes and just drinking the grapes and eating grapes too. So I've never been solely just on liquids. Maybe one day, but I still feel like my body has a lot to kind of build up to that. And we'll see where that leads me. But I definitely would be interested in doing maybe like an orange juice fast one time and seeing
if you can get good oranges. But I think you were luckier up north there than or further north than I am here in Florida.
Yep. I did have a cantaloupe. I don't know, it's been a little while ago now, and it did say that it was from Florida, and it was really good.
Yeah, but you know what? Florida doesn't sell Florida stuff. They
can't
sell
get
that
it
in
in
other
Florida.
states.
Everything's exported.
Yeah, I get California oranges, and avocados come from Mexico, and bananas come from Mexico, and everything could be grown here. So that is why I start my own tiny little fruit thing outside the house here.
Yeah, I agree too. That's the best way. Grow your own.
Yeah, we just have to, do what we can do. I would like to answer a few questions, because there was one about, can you mix the fruit and make smoothies? Yes, of course you can. Nobody says that it has to be just one fruit in a day. It's best for us because, naturally, if you would you go way back in nature, we go from tree to tree to tree to fill our stomachs with all these different things. No, we wouldn't. And, but yeah, if you enjoy a smoothie, I love smoothies, I'll have a smoothie once a day. I have one fruit, I have one smoothie, and I have one that is a liter or a quart, and a juice, and maybe 2 juices and a liter of water. And that is how I found my balance, and that is what keeps me away from the darn cooked foods. And right now I'm on a fast again. It's fruit, just juices, and I feel good. There's no cravings for salt. There's no hunger, and it just makes life easy. Yeah, the darn salt. We always come back to that. But anyway, I think there was another question that I forgot now what it was. Yeah, Luccas, Jay asked, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
Oh, we're gonna have a little problem here because people in the US use a different system, right? So I can reply to that in centimeters. I'm 170. I think that would be like 5'5" or 5'6", perhaps
Yeah, a little bit more actually, because I'm
5'7".
172. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 5'6", 5'7", perhaps. As far as weight, I actually have no idea because I have not weighted myself in years, but I'm gonna take a wild guess and say anywhere between 50 and 60 kilos.
Yeah, so you're about 110 pounds, which
Yeah, that sounds
which
about
is
right.
okay, you know. That is what I said with my husband. He's a little taller, and he is in centimeters. He's 178, and he weighs like in American pounds 125. So he's maybe 60 kilograms. And it is actually the lowest weight that he has been in a long, long time. But he feels good and he works hard. He works 16 hours a day. He is actually a truck driver, always on the road for 5 days. But he takes all his fruits, and I think he probably takes about 50 pounds of fruit with him, and a few salads and a smoothie for maybe once or twice a day. And it works. He has the energy to keep doing it. And all in all, it's a 80-hour work week. And to get, talking about that, I remember that Katie sent me Katie Meir sent me an email this morning. She's traveling now, so she said she may listen in, but she is still traveling, going to a friend in Pennsylvania from South Dakota. And she took at heart what we have been, sharing on these podcasts, that she is traveling with her juicer and juices, and she's doing great. She has a lot of energy. It's something that she hasn't done, and she wanted to thank everybody here in this group actually for for helping her along, and that was good news.
I think what you said before is really important and often overlooked, the malabsorption issue, because I think generally we underestimate just how toxic we are, right? Because again, I've also always been thin, yet I was juice fasting for 100 days and there were still things coming out of me. And I know that I'm not entirely clean yet. So that's a very relevant point that I think people should keep in mind, because truly, until you're really clean inside, your body's not even going to be able to fully utilize what you're putting in. So even if you're putting the best fuel available, if you haven't done the cleansing completely, it's like you do not put new wine on an old container, right? And that's what also one of the reasons I think the fasting is a good idea, because you're gonna cleanse yourself on raw foods, but the fasting can fasten things up, speed things up, and the sooner you get cleaner inside, the easier it's going to be to feel nourished and satisfied and energized in this new lifestyle. So that's a really good point. How we underestimate just how much cleansing we still have to do, and whenever someone does their first week, I would say, of water or juice fasting, they really start becoming more aware of the depth of the situation. And the more we detox, the more we see just, wow, there's still more to come. It's really a mind-blowing experience.
I was just thinking of something, and I was listening to you and I completely lost my train of thought. But it had to do with cleaning out the GI tract and getting clean. And I don't know what I was going to say about it. This is pretty sad. I'm so sorry, guys.
Could it be about herbs, maybe? About
No, it had to do with the absorption and cleaning out the guts and giving it time. But it was here a minute ago, and I just poured myself some grape juice. Oh my gosh, this is slightly embarrassing, only slightly. Now I have another question about your emotional. How did you deal with that? How did you feel emotional wise with your 100-day fast?
Well, that was a roller coaster. To be honest, it was at the beginning of 2019 that I started practicing breathing exercises and meditating every day for like at least 1, usually 2 hours. And I think that has been the biggest game changer over the past few years, because that really, it's like it puts everything in harmony, and I've released many tears and all sorts of emotions while doing it. It's a very interesting practice to keep on a daily basis, and it just clears your mind. And I feel it kind of massages the internal organs. It also kind of recalibrates the nervous system and the endocrine glands, I feel, even. So that has been the best thing for me, just that hour or two of breathing exercises and meditation. But I do agree that the emotional side of things can be very challenging. It helps a lot to find a community of sorts. It could be a best friend, it could be a Facebook group, but these types of experiences are made a lot easier once you have at least one person to talk about that understands what you're doing. Most of the time, those will not be our family and old friends, right? Not always they are on board on this train. So I think the internet is a really good tool in this sense, that we can find other people to connect with, or to even watch their own journeys and get inspired. And I believe I talk about this a little in the book, how important it is once we're committing to it, that we establish a clear purpose or goal, a why, a motive. We really gotta have a very pure, clear, and simple intent behind what we're doing, because then whenever we're struggling, we can remember that, that goal, that dream, whatever we're building or going towards. And I think reminding ourselves of that will give us strength during the turbulent times. And another thing that comes to mind is that all of these emotions, we just have to find a way of expressing them in a coherent and not a destructive way. So I think it's important to find a means of self-expression that is agreeable to you, create something. For me, writing the books has been a part of that. For some people, it could be painting, it could be playing sports, it could be gardening, it could be anything really, playing a musical instrument. Once you find something, or just the breathing exercises, meditation, once you find something to serve as a channel for expressing those emotions, I think that is very helpful, and probably the most healthy and sustainable way of dealing with it. Because if you,
and all these things are so much part of the healing. It's and enjoying your life. If you are miserable and negative, you can eat all the fruit you want, but you're not really healing. And I found it actually difficult. Well, I didn't try, but to be in a bad mood when I'm on all fruit, it's just no way. And that is that I went from a depression years ago when I started on the fruit. It was just gone. It was like it wasn't there. And I do have to admit that when I am more on cooked fruit, I am more negative. So I hope that everyone take that experience to heart, because I'm sure that you experience the same thing. And in the meantime, I did remember what I was going to say, Luccas. And no, Juan or JV, I don't need extra herbs to help with my memory. I have so much in my mind, I just get sidetracked easily. But it was about something that in an interview with Chris, what Chris Manley said is as long as you have junk in your body, there's no way that you can get to even the point of being a fruitarian. And be a breatharian. And he said he had to detox a long time to get to that point. And it was actually that I heard talking about that because he talked, I think, with another fruitarian, breatharian, and that one came up. It's not like, oh, you can, forgo all food and drinks and be a breatharian if you have not cleaned out your body absolutely 100%. So that was actually what I was gonna say. So yeah, we have to take it to the point that we can utilize what's in the air even, and we need less and less, because on all fruit, it happens to me many times that it's in the evening and I'm like, I didn't have any food today because I didn't need it at that point. So that is where the listening to the body comes in.
Yeah, I think that also refers to the last paragraph of what's in the back cover of my book, right? This lifestyle of just realizing that we need less than we're led to believe. This also links to the calories concept. And I think it's all about circulation and efficiency, because if our bodies are all clogged up, it's like our cells can communicate properly. The blood is not efficiently reaching all of its spots and corners. And the more we cleanse ourselves, the more efficiently our body starts to work. And then, who knows, maybe we could essentially become breatharians or something along these lines, or eat every other day instead of every day. I think there's still a whole realm of possibilities to be explored, because this also links to what we were talking about before, the malabsorption and how people underestimate how toxic they are, how much waste they still have inside of them. And it's a long journey. If I remember correctly, I think Chris spent at least 7 months on like 99% distilled water or something. I'm not sure if he was doing a little bit of grape juice as well, but I know it was a long time and it was very intense. And that just goes to show that for those who really want to go the distance, it's really going the distance.
Yeah, but think about it, how the world is today. I mean, everywhere, every country, they are worried about food shortages. Now, we have been, well, you can call it brainwashed with what we need, what we all need to eat for breakfast. I mean, my God, look at the pile of food that was on your plate. And it's not just breakfast, then it is lunch, then it is dinner, and then it's all the snacks in between. When I was growing up, we didn't have any snacks. We could get an apple in the afternoon and that was that. You didn't even think about it. And now it's always about food and more food. And I have to admit, I'm not over that yet. I'm still tempted. And I do want to get away of that temptation. And I think that goes for everyone. It's not to eat things, but it is on the fruit, and I've said it many times, we just need less. And that is why I already knew 40 years ago that whole, again, a word that I can't come up what we just talked about. Oh my gosh. Never mind. That what we need, calories, that was the word. That it was crazy, it's like, oh, there is 4 calories and 1 gram of fat and 4 in whatever it was. And it's like, yeah, but we don't want to think that way. And now people are like, okay, I need to eat this fruit and that fruit and that fruit, and then I can get my 2,500 calories. And then they get worried because, it was only 1,000 calories or maybe 500. And yes, I have days that if I would put whatever I eat in calories, it would even be less than 500. But that is just in a day. And I still feel fine. But way back when I tried to lose weight, and I think this is an important thing too, because I've always been a health nut, always been from vegan to vegetarian, because, you know, growing up in the Netherlands, cheese is #1 food, and they have good cheese. And it is very addictive, but I also grew up on grains, you know, rice and whole grains and bread. Oh my gosh, I love my bread and cheese and butter. But then I went back to eating more veggies, but grains were always in my foods, and I could not lose weight. It was just crazy. And when I started, what is it, probably 6-7 years ago now, with the raw foods, it's like, didn't even have to think about, you know, the weight. It was just coming off. And then I realized, you know, that is what my whole life I had been doing wrong. Following all these crazy diets, as in this is what your body needs, and if you don't eat it, you die. And I did almost die on the 500 calories foods. I ate only once a day, and I ate the wrong foods. And I had a very impacted GI tract, so I was not absorbing anything. It's amazing that I'm still here, actually, but it's probably because I've always been trying to, you know, be not eating junk food, let's say it that way, not eating the all fried stuff, etc. Just so eating the whole foods. But even with the whole foods, you may not get where you want to go. So
And I was going to say, you have a message to spread, Toni, so that's why it's so important that you're still here, and you have so much to teach and to share with everybody, and that's so very important. So I think that's why you're still hanging around with us.
yeah, and I intend to double the number that I'm going to be on March the 16th.
That's definitely what we need to hear. But I do have a school meeting I have to attend to. But Luccas, thank you so much. You all can continue the show, but I just want to say thank you to everyone. And I loved hearing all your gnosis, and I have friended you on Facebook. So I look forward to seeing more what you have to share. And thank you.
Thank you, Sara, for being here.
Absolutely. You all take care. Much love to everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sara. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sara. Love you, girl.
Love you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we've already gone way over the hour what we usually try to do. Not that it matters. It's like, you know, it's 1 hour and 17 minutes. I do want to touch on something that I am working on, and I feel it's going to be major important. And Luccas already touched on the subject about connecting with people. I am working on a social platform called gardenofeden.social. My intention was to have a soft launch for the people that I know on March the 1st, and then I realized, oh my God, that is in a few days, and have a full launch of the platform on March the 21st, spring, new times, because I felt that would be the best time to do this. My whole idea for this platform, it is about health and healing and connecting and inspiring and unity and life's truths. But what are life's truths? For me, it's like, you know, natural law is very important to me. And I think, you know, you all agree with that. And people can connect. You can actually see where people are. There's a little, when you register there, you can put your location. I'm sorry. You can put your location in, and it gets a pinpoint on a map. And I built a similar platform before that most people here know about. It's a freaksenseworld.com. And this one is all about health and healing and connecting, and it can be about living off-grid, how to build a house, you know, maybe these earthships or whatever fits in nature, about healing our animals, about whatever topic we can come up with. The beauty of life, you know, it can be art and music. It has to, I am doing my best to add all that. But I would, we have a brainstorming group on WhatsApp, and to see what else do we need. Anyone who would love to be part of the soft launch and just look around in how it works, send me an email to healthywithfruit@gmail.com. And we go from there, because I think this will be, I hope this will be the platform where we can all connect and share and give, and it's going to be, it will have other modalities. I would, there would be a section about fasting. There will be a section about even acupuncture, in whatever modality that fits with our natural healing. No other things and fake things and spirituality. And I mean, I have even missed something, and I have a document, only 1 or 2 pages, where I have some of the layout of the things that I have there, and I would love that to share that with you. To anyone who is interested to learn more, to be part of this, send me an email to healthywithfruit@gmail.com. And with this, if nobody has any questions anymore, I would love to close our podcast and see you guys again next week. And thank you so much, Luccas, for sharing your wisdom with the fasting, and I hope a lot of people will buy your book, because it will help them so much to really understand what's going on in your body, and not to worry so much, and do things the right way. And I feel you have added a lot to what we all need to learn about. So thank you.
Oh, I had a lot of fun here today, so thank you for having me.
Well,
And thank you again.
Thank you for being here, and I'm sure we will be talking again. And thanks everyone for showing up for this podcast or show. I never call it a show. I don't like to feel, if I talk about a show, it's like, people are putting up a face, having a show. It's like, I'll stick with the podcast. Okay, guys, I love you all, and till the next time.
Thank you, Toni. Love you too. And thank you, Luccas, for everything you gave us today. Appreciate it, brother. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you all again. It was a pleasure being here and meeting all of you.